Hi guys, how we doing? Welcome to a lovely, juicy Q&A session with the Nourish App. I'm Suzy Reading. I'm one of the contributing team members, and I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to answer some really fantastic questions that I think will resonate really broadly. I'd love to hear your insight too, because I think these are things that we're all facing, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, your wisdom. Okay, so I've got 4 questions that we're going to take a peek at. The first one is, there are family members in other households who are more anxious than others about mixing over Christmas. Navigating all the different logistics of Christmas week together with everyone's different anxiety levels is sending me over the edge. We understand, don't we? We identify. I don't know how I'll cope once we actually all meet up. Okay, so this is challenging, isn't it? It's navigating the fact that we've all got different ideas about what we need to feel safe and healthy. Okay, and that's essentially, this is what our boundaries are. This is how we communicate to others what we need to feel safe and healthy. And I think this is really, the pandemic has really brought this to the light, hasn't it? Because we all have a different idea of what it is that we need to feel safe and healthy. And when we're thrown together with different people with different boundaries over Christmas, it's a bit of a pressure cooker situation, isn't it? Okay, so my suggestions here. The question is, how do we cope? How do we cope with these anxiety levels? How do we cope with the fact that we all have different needs? How do we cope when those needs are in conflict with each other? Okay, step number 1, breathe. Please breathe. When we breathe well, it keeps our prefrontal cortex online, and that's the thing that allows us to empathize, to stay calm, and to be able to behave in a way that's contingent with our values. It's the stuff that allows us to keep our ears open and to think what comes out of our mouth next. This is essentially how we regulate our nervous system. Now, as soon as we spiral into this fight or flight response, where we're defending ourselves or, feeling that cascading of stress hormones, it's so hard. It is so hard to navigate these times of conflict, okay? So the key is breathe. I know that sounds really flippant, but this is the fundamental of keeping your nervous system smooth and calm and relaxed, okay? So what I'm talking about here, there's nothing fancy required. Calm, relaxed breaths. Maybe the candle breath can be useful because it's something that you can do. It's not very obvious, where we breathe in through the nose and then we breathe out through gently pursed lips. One of those can be enough. Or one of my other favorites is the shrug, shoulder shrug and a sigh, which just helps you drop tension. Okay? This is how we cope in the moment. Anchor yourself in a feeling of calm, using your body, using your breath. My other suggestions here would be, give yourself permission to protect your boundaries. Now that involves also being open and clear. Yeah, it's all well and good to be very clear on your boundaries in your head, but we have to say them out loud. Okay, we need to let people know what we need to feel safe and healthy, and also to be respectful of what other people need. Okay, compassion is key here. Kindness is key. And open and clear communication is essential. Okay, the other suggestion I would have is to just, the things that help us cope are making sure that we're observing what I call the energy bank basics. Make sure that you're well fed, that you're well watered so that you can think straight. Make sleep a priority because that is fundamental to us being able to cope, to staying calm in the moment, to staying patient. If you think about any quality that's important to you as a human being, good sleep will give you more access to that. In the absence of good sleep, because we can't make ourselves sleep, then please can we prioritize rest or soothing practices? And you'll find loads of tips and tools on the Nourish app that will help soothe your nervous system. Okay, so we've got what we eat, how we hydrate ourselves. Movement is essential for mental health. Move so you've got access to a sense of humour. Time in nature, because that literally hits the reboot button. Yeah, these are simple things that we can top up the energy banks so that we are best placed to cope with the inevitable stresses that lie ahead. Okay, so I hope that gives you something to play with when it comes to navigating differing logistics and needs and anxiety levels. Let's move on to the next question. How's this sounding, guys? Do let me know if you've got questions too. Okay, next question is, we don't have family nearby, and so we'll be spending a very quiet Christmas, just us and the kids. I feel so sad that it will be such a different time this year, and feel so bad for the kids that they won't have all the usual fun. Just not feeling a festive cheer, and that makes me feel even worse, as I want to make it as special as possible for the kids. We can all identify, right? My heart goes out to this person. The fact is, the variables that are at play are largely beyond our control. We have to cut ourselves some slack. This is not of our choosing. All we can do is focus on the things that lie in our control. I think it's really important that we give ourselves time and space to feel our feelings. There is a genuine feeling of grief and loss that we can't come together as we would normally. Yeah? So please give yourself time and space to feel that feeling. The thing is, when we don't do that, that's when that feeling tends to spill out and taint other moments. If we can carve some space to just say, do you know what, I'm just going to feel that sadness. I'm going to allow myself to feel that grief and move through it. Maybe we need to create a boundary to that. So it's not like we're feeling it all day, every day. We're saying to ourselves, right, I'm going to set aside half an hour at this time of day. I'm going to journal about it, or I'm going to let myself express those emotions. It might be through tears. It might be, I might need to rest, whatever it is. Feel the feelings, and then maybe say to ourselves, right, I'm going to give myself, after that half an hour, then it's time to move on and do something else. And we turn to our healthy distractions to allow us to do that. But it's when we don't give ourselves permission that it then spills out. And then it distracts us from the joy that's right underneath our nose, right? Okay. What I want to point out here is that this Christmas is likely to be very different for everybody, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be worse. It's just different. So a point for reflection might be to think about what's important to you about the Christmas period. What values are important? What does it mean to you? What matters to you? Well, is it communicating care? Is it making memories? Is it connection? Well, we can still honour these things, but yes, they'll need to take a different shape. Okay? So it's get clear on your values and then look for ways that you can honour that, even though it's taking a different form this year. Doesn't mean it's worse, it's just different. Okay? And please, can we remind ourselves that it's not forever. Yeah, it's just this one potentially. Things are changing, things are evolving. So let's not let it loom larger than in our minds. It's just this one. Can we just do this one differently? Yeah, because we have to. So how can we roll with it, and how can we maximize potential joy? Now, what I would say is ask your kids. What would they find fun? Because sometimes we imagine that they want things, that it has to be a certain way, and in actual fact, they're quite happy that it's different, and that's okay. So there's a lovely activity that you could do. This is from my book, Stand Tall Like a Mountain, where we co-create a happiness treasure chest. And I know that there'll be a blog post on this coming up soon on the Nourish app. So this is where we think about what are the things that bring joy, and map it out, put it on a piece of paper, and think about what are the things that we find fun. Let's do all of these things. Yeah, in moments where we're thinking, God, I feel a bit bored, or I'm missing this person, or it's a shame we can't do that thing. Well, let's look for another source of joy. Or let's look for a way of connecting with that person and communicating that care, even though we can't sit around the same table. Yeah, it's still possible. Let's just get creative. I know after all of this hard slog, it's challenging to be creative, but it's possible. Okay? Memory making of a different kind. Yeah. Okay. Next question. How's this sounding, guys? We're all identifying, right? These are all very real and very relevant struggles that we're all facing. Okay. Question 3. Is it wrong to feel a little bit excited about having a quiet Christmas this year? Hell no. It's not wrong at all. I keep flip-flopping between guilt and relief. Any suggestions on how to keep guilt at bay would be appreciated. Right. What I want to say here is please make peace. There is nothing wrong with relishing a quiet Christmas where you get to honour your needs as your own little family unit. That is A-OK. I hope that feels good. Give yourself permission to relish it. Yeah? When it comes to guilt, can we please acknowledge that guilt is just a messenger? Okay? The presence of guilt does not mean that we're actually doing anything wrong. So what we need to do as a grown-up is check in with guilt and ask yourself, am I doing anything that transgresses my moral code? Well, the fact is, there are restrictions on what we can do this Christmas that are beyond our control. And are we doing anything wrong by having a Christmas just with our little family unit? No, we're actually abiding by the rules in many circumstances. So you can let that guilt slide from your shoulders and just enjoy. It comes back to, what are your values? What's important to you around Christmas, and how can you take action in service of those values? So if you are concerned that there are family members who are missing out, well then how can you make them feel loved and appreciated and valued, even though we're not in the same household, even though we're not coming together? It is very possible to do that. Make it a priority, and then you can relish your quiet little family Christmas, but still communicate care and stay connected with those that are important to you, yeah, that need you. All right, I hope that helps. Now, last question. I haven't had a lot of time to think about Christmas yet, and I'm worried it's all going to pass me by in more of the same work-family juggle like most of the rest of the year. The juggle is real, isn't it? I know I probably need to set up some clear boundaries over the holiday period, but I'd welcome any tips on helping me actually put theory into practice and take action. So we've talked a bit about boundaries already, and the fact is, it is challenging. It's hard. This is hard, but it is doable. So again, let's come back to, what are your values? What matters to you? Maybe what matters to you in particular over this Christmas period? What does it mean to you? And what do you need to feel safe and healthy? Right? What is okay for you? What's not okay for you? It's not just about thinking about these things. We then need to articulate them. We've got to say them out loud so that the people nearest and dearest to us understand what those things are. And it helps if we also ask them what feels resonant for them. This is a dialogue. It's a conversation. It's a process of negotiation, isn't it? And then we need to honour our needs and respect those of those around us. Okay, so it really does require thought. It does require planning. It does require perhaps a little soul searching, but it's deeply purposeful, isn't it? And this is how we minimize conflict. It's how we protect our energy, protect our peace, and we need to give ourselves permission to do it. Okay, so yeah, it is very easy to get swept up in the busyness of life, but spend half an hour thinking about what's important to you for this Christmas period, and how that could take shape, and have some fruitful conversations. And I hope that does. I hope the dividends ripple out broadly from that process. Yeah. Are there any questions, guys? Is this useful? Are we all thinking, yeah, we've got the same concerns? I think compassion is key. Compassion is absolutely key. Self-forgiveness, kindness, tender words, tender action, open and honest communication, healthy boundaries, and that will help see us through this Christmas like no other. Bearing in mind that hopefully next Christmas we'll be able to go back to doing what we love with complete abandon. But hey, we've got to do what we've got to do for now. Any questions, guys? I hope there's something useful in there for you. I am wishing you peace and ease. Take good care of you. Take good care of each other. And I'll see you again soon. Bye.